mean feat. So, and the Chiefs can still turn out those. Yep, unfortunately they lost 2 games, 2 other games in the first 6 weeks, but that's going to happen, and there's always going to be little speed bumps along the way. But it doesn't take away, I don't think, the Chiefs being a quality side and one that could push for potential championship honours. But in saying that, in the last several years, they've been quite far off the mark. There and thereabouts, but still far from where they want to be. The last 5 years, they've finished 7th last year, 5th the year before, 6th in 2016 and 17, and 5th twice as well in 15 and 14. And that's going. And then before that, that's when they won their back-to-back championship. So, yeah, they haven't been in the running, but they've been there and thereabouts. Had some good results go their way, but at the same time, some of those games that they probably could have won, they just lose out to. But then that's the beauty of the Super Rugby when you're coming up against quality sides. It's anyone's game at the end of the day. But
true.
I think that's where I see the Chiefs. Like the last sort of 4 or 5 years, they've been close, but not really that close. I see them as maybe a first or maybe the second week of the playoffs.
That was not a segue for you to capitalise on making a point.
But not really.
I
see sort of like much of a muchness with them. I think that's where they're at again. Like they're currently 5th on the table. That's sort of where I see them. They're not contenders. I'm not going to put them in the contenders, or maybe slightly off a little bit below that. I think they'll make the playoffs, but I don't think that they'll.
Just to bring you back down to earth, Stace. So the Blues finished 13th last year, 14th in 2018. They finished 9th in 17, 11th in 16, 14th and 15. They finished 10th twice in those 2 respective seasons before that, then 12th. The best season they've had since 2010 is when they finished 4th in 2011. That's the highest they've been.
When we finished fourth in 2011, we conceded 21 points per game, and this year we're conceding 19.1 points per game. So we've got the best defense, and defense is the key. So that's why I think the Blues were going to have a good season. But anyway, I don't want to go back to the Blues. I want to focus on the Chiefs. So I think you guys made some real good points, and I mean I agree with you guys' points about Brad Weber. But I just wanted to get your guys' opinion about sort of Anton Leonard-Brown. Like he's sort of been shuffled between 12 and 13. So I want to ask you guys, where do you think his best position is? And who do you think is his best midfield partner at the Chiefs? Because he's had Nankivell, Tupaia, and 2 more Manu played the last couple of games with they've all sort of all shared it. I think Gatland, I don't even know if maybe he does know and he's just mixing it up a bit, but I mean
he's probably
all we can say in the midfield is that Anton Leonard-Brown is guaranteed, and the rest of the guys are sort of
I think when he plays 12, he's limited in what he can do and what we know that he can do, because as a 13, he's a bit more at liberty to run the ball a lot longer, whereas 12, he's seemed to be either distributing by kick or pass or smashing at them. And we know he can do all those roles really well. And so he's always going to be a shoo-in for being part of that midfield pairing as to where he fits in the scheme of things for the Chiefs. I think his best position is 12, but then because he brings the tightness and closeness, and then whoever the younger ones that they can play outside him, that gives them that freedom to do what they need to do to distribute out wider. But in terms of the All Blacks, I think his position is 13.
That's interesting.
I prefer him at 13 myself. That's my own preference, just because seeing him in the All Blacks jersey, there are really tight games that the All Blacks have had over the last couple of years especially, and he's come out into his own as a distributor. Like, there's times where you think, okay, he's easily going to get tackled by 2 guys here, and somehow he gets the ball out, not in the kind of way that Sonny Bill used to do offloads, but he finds a way to create a bit of space outside him and distribute the ball to the right people. I think he looks a bit slippery out there, like pretty hard to tackle because he's unpredictable on his feet. You don't know what he's going to do, which is cool. I like that about him. But yeah, I think he's a 13 more than anything. The centre pairing that I've enjoyed so far with the Chiefs is Tupaia for Leonard Brown. So, you know, he can do well in both jerseys, but I think he's a 13. There was one game in particular, the Chiefs loss against the Brumbies, where Anton Leonard Brown scored a try, and it was a good try. It was a try when I think there was a Brumbies guy in the sin bin. But, you know, Anton's the kind of guy who you give him an inch, he'll take a mile, I think. So, class player, and he's still young.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I sort of semi-agree with both of you. I think with the All Blacks, I definitely think he'll be probably a 13. And it's interesting because I'm not sure if the Chiefs, if that's where he best fits in. It looks like Gatlin likes him a little bit more at 12. I think he's played more games there this year. But, for the All Blacks, I definitely think he's a 13. I actually like Alex Nankerville, who is a 12. But, I mean, Tupai's done good things. And I think he's a baby. He has the potential to be an All Black of the future. So I like the idea of giving him some exposure, but I think that's still up in the air who they're going to pick. I know Tumua Manu ended up getting the last 2 starts, so be interesting. Just for me with the Chiefs, I can't get past those slow starts, Roger. 5 of these 6 games they were behind by
like I say,
or in the first half. And
that's only this year, but you know that that's the thing. The problem is when the Chiefs do give teams that sort of false sense of security in terms of that's where it's misconstrued in that sense, because a lot of teams think, we're ahead. The Blues, Ricky Ioane came off the field at halftime waving to the fans. He's like, we've got this in the bag. 19-5 up because he had scored 2 tries in their first half, I think. Yeah. And that's where a lot of the reason as to why the Chiefs are so good at doing that.
I want to ask you a question. Well, what do you put the slow starts down to? Because I mean, I think they've gotten away with it so far.
I'll counter you with this. I'll counter you with this. No, slow start. You think it's a slow start, but in the same sense, you got to give the Blues credit. They played well in that first half, so they just played well, and so the Chiefs were caught off guard a little. It happens, but if we go back to the Chiefs, to the Blues have had 85 games where they're behind and only won 15.
Yes, but I mean, that proves my point that you can't keep having slow starts and recovering from it. So, I mean, the Crusaders, the Chiefs.
But the Chiefs can. By a little bit more.
6 games. Yeah, I suppose that's where I see the Chiefs there. I think that they're sort of good, but I think the slow starts will stop them from being a genuine contender. I think, I'm going to put them in below the genuine contenders.
That's where I find it hard to believe that, the Blues all of a sudden are genuine contenders this year. But then I go back to my point, they're 13th last year, 14th the year before, 9th. That's not a championship team that I can see that's going to make headway from having those placings in the last 5+ years.
One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do another podcast, and I'd love for you guys to come on again about, mainly a Blues-centric one, about why the Blues were good and where they turned to crap, and how they're going to get back to good. And one thing, I don't want to get too much into it, but John Hart, he touched on a really good point with the Blues. He said that the Blues, when they were good in the 90s, in the 2003, whatever, when they won it because Auckland Rugby carved up in the NPC. So they won 6 titles in the NPC from 95 to 2005. And on the back of the greatness of the Blues, out of Auckland NPC, the Blues were built. And I mean, his idea was that the Blues will never be great until Auckland's great again. And Auckland won the NPC. When did we win it? 2018 for the first time in I think it was like 13 years. And they made the semi-finals last year. And on the back of Auckland getting back to being good, the Blues are getting back to being good as well. So Hoskins Atutu, we talked about before, that's a good example of a guy who's just come through the ranks as he's only ever known Auckland being good. He's only played 2 years of NPC. And he's only ever known Auckland being good. And you watch him play for the Blues. He's played, 7 games in his life of Super Rugby, and he's an All Black contention. And that's what it used to be like for the Blues. So, I mean, this is a different podcast. So I don't want to digress too much, but I mean, I think that to compare it to other years when Auckland was garbage and the Blues were garbage, I mean, the two things are, they're not mutually exclusive. Those are 2 events that occur together. But yeah, it's something else we'll talk about on a different podcast.
No, hear what you say.
Yeah. So, any last thoughts on the Chiefs before we move on to these the rest of these New Zealand teams?
I think your contenders for All Blacks berths would be your normal Aaron Cruden. I think Aaron Cruden could be back in the mix, having had a stellar start to his reintroduction to Super Rugby. Obviously, you got the general contenders like Sam Cane, Anton Lienert-Brown, as we mentioned, Brad Weber, we mentioned, Damien McKenzie, and I'm gonna throw in there Lachlan Boshier as a genuine contender for a loose forward 7-6. Definitely his turnover rate, his general play, his tackling is up there with the best of the sevens, sixes as well throughout Super Rugby. But then I'll throw in Aidan Ross, the prop, as well as Peter Gus Sowakula, who we've talked about as possibly in the All Blacks 15.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I know you guys talked up Brad Weber, but I look at Boshier. To me, he's been the best player for the Chiefs, and possibly the stand-up player for the comp. I mean, I don't disagree with it. There's a real fight for the loose forward position, so hopefully he's one of those contenders. That's a good call on that, Roger. I agree with that. What about you?
Yeah, it's just awesome just to see him when he pops up at the bottom of the rucks and he's won another ball, made another amazing tackle, stop a try or score a try at the bottom of the ruck. Or he just pops up everywhere when you don't expect him to be there. And just like, oh, he's there again. And he makes the exciting game. It makes it exciting to watch. And I think the closest that the Hurricanes have is that guy, what's his name? Samoan, I think he is. Karifi.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, he's sort of a similar sort of player who pops up everywhere, does what a Lucy's meant to do. Joey?
Yeah, I agree with the Boshier call and the Sowakula call. Those two have been standouts for the Chiefs for sure. Boshier, speaking of the Hurricanes, he did a bit of a pick and go, and it led to a try. And he's been doing that all season so far, which is awesome to see, the pick and goes from the big men like that. So,
but that's a deceptive thing as well. Boshier doesn't look like your typical big gym goer type Lucy. He's like of the slimmer mold or the smaller mold. But then Sam Cane is deceptively big as well. He doesn't look much, but he's quite a solid unit.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah, Boshier seems like obviously the earlier years of that, and where they fill out even more. But deceptively, again, on TV, they probably don't look like as big as they really are in person. But he holds his own. And, similarly could be said about Adi Saville when he first came on the scene, how they said that he wouldn't really become a regular All Black because he was too small as a number 7. But, well, we know the story of Adi.
Yeah. I did enjoy Sam Cane as number 8 against the Crusaders. I think he led really well in that game as a captain.
Yeah, I think there was one thing that I thought was really interesting because they had Sam Cane at 8, they had Boshier, who was playing sometimes 6 or 7, and they had Mitch Karpik. So they were basically playing 3 open sides, all in their loose forward mix. So I thought that was strange. I don't know what the right word is, but I mean, because that was an interesting mix.
When you mentioned Mitch Karpik, because he's another Auckland player who's come from up these ways, he had massive reps as well when he got signed up by the Chiefs. I wasn't sure as to why the Blues let him go, but he was one of those players that could have gone far. Again, unfortunately, he had a massive injury early last year, so he was out for the majority of the year. But it's good to see him making his way back and still maintaining a spot within the Chiefs squad because, again, the Chiefs have some riches in the loose forward department as well, but they're always going to be sort of learning a lot behind someone like Sam Cane, as long as he's in the mix with New Zealand rugby. So,
yep, nice. So, we'll move on now because I don't want to talk about your team anymore, Raj. We'll move on to the Hurricanes. Moving down a little bit further to